upfront isn't for every single advertiser, much less every TV advertiser. How do you help clients decide whether they should actually participate in the upfront? What are the factors that are involved?
Yeah, well, so first and foremost, we really try to assess the needs of the client in terms of their marketing needs. What is really coming up in the year? What is the size of the budget? What are the critical time periods they have to be on television specifically? What's the demographic? What's the competitive landscape look like? There's a myriad of factors that we consider when we're really trying to guide clients in terms of whether or not to be in the upfront marketplace. The upfront is great in terms of being able to make sure that you can buy, large amounts of television at scale, do it in the most efficient way, get the inventory when you need it, where you need it, in the shows you need it in, at the most efficient pricing. So we really try to present to clients what are the benefits of being in the upfront, coupled with what are some of the disadvantages potentially in the upfront, which could include things like less flexibility, you are committed to the dollars, you also may not be able to have funds left for more opportunistic things that come along throughout the years. So we really look at against the needs of the business and then try to weigh that against the pros and the cons of being in the upfront marketplace. And then in the end, make the right recommendation for the client based on all those factors so that we can present the best opportunities for the client based on the needs of the business, and again, coupled with the realities of the marketplace. The other thing that we really try to project too is what do we think scatter will be like? So if you don't participate in the upfront, what are the potential opportunities or pitfalls that could come throughout the year in scatter if you don't participate in the upfront marketplace? So it's really weighing what you know at that moment and trying to also project what's going to come in the future throughout the year to the best of our ability based on the information that we have at that moment in time. So it's really weighing all of those factors together so that we can make the right recommendations and guide our clients correctly.
The Open AP partnership, Fox, Turner, Viacom, this is a good thing from a scale perspective of targeting. Can you explain why that is?
Yeah, absolutely. Because a couple of years ago, obviously the TV networks felt the pressure of making sure that they were able to use data and behaviorally target consumers in the way that digital had been so successful at doing. So there was pressure from Turner, Viacom, NBC, Fox to invest more in data and targeting so that they could transact in a more similar fashion to digital. However, over time, and so that obviously was a great step in terms of having more data, making sure that the investments we make were yielding better results in terms of who we were trying to reach. Over time, each network had their own data product. So Viacom's data product was different than NBC, it was different than Turner. They had different data sets. They had different mechanics in terms of how they were going about using that data to buy the audiences. And I think one of the barriers for a lot of agencies and advertisers was that we didn't want to have disparate buying sets. We didn't want to have disparate ways in terms of actually activating against the audiences. We are really trying to buy audiences at scale using a common data stack. So we can't, if we buy just one audience with Viacom that's different than the audience we bought with Turner, we can't aggregate those audiences. And so we're sort of optimizing in a walled garden versus optimizing against the entire cable landscape. So this is a step towards creating those audiences with more scale. So it's certainly a great step in that direction to create a coalition, or whatever you want to call it, so that more networks now can potentially join in. So right now we got Viacom, Fox, and Turner. Obviously there's the opportunity for other networks to join this consortium, and that also we can transact on a common data set across a wide variety of networks so that we're reaching these audiences at scale and not having to buy individual or different ways across 6 or 7 networks. Because it wasn't gaining enough traction, I don't think, in the marketplace because of some of those barriers and some of those challenges. And that's really was the impetus for why they created this.
So you have more scale in terms of the targeting, but cross-platform measurement is still behind the curve a little bit.
Definitely.
Where would you, I mean, compared to say like 3 years ago, how much progress have we made?
I think a little bit, but certainly nowhere near enough. I think we're in a world of, there's all the data that tells us that people are watching content less on TV, more on demand, more on OTT, more on mobile, social. So all the data tells us that that's where consumers are going. Yet we still can't accurately measure audiences' reach in a unified, cohesive way. We're still using a lot of proxy data, a lot of projections. So it hasn't gone nearly far enough because we know that the consumption has changed. Consumers have told us that they've evolved and changed, but the measurement has not kept pace with that. So it is a bit frustrating on our side to not be able to properly plan and buy the way we'd like to in the world in which we now live in terms of all these different screens that we have access to in terms of advertising, but it's challenging in terms of the lack of measurement that we have at this point. So it definitely hasn't progressed nearly enough at this point.